Hey there, it's your girl Emerald. Thank you so much for joining me again. Let's sit down and talk today about my top 10 reasons for moving from Canada to Kenya. My number one reason for moving from Toronto, specifically Toronto, Canada, to Kenya. And this has to do from business, from personal, because obviously being an entrepreneur, that affects you day to day. And this from that context, not only, but from that context primarily. So, permits, bylaws, paperwork, backlog, bullshit. all that. As an entrepreneur trying to do business in certain cities, in certain jurisdictions in Canada, it can be daunting to the point where you literally have to make a decision with your business if you're in a space where, for example, renovation, new home builds, new project builds, I mean, anything to do with building something, yeah, you are flogging a dead horse by thinking that you're going to get that project done in due course because there's so many rules, regulation, bylaws, permits, red tapes that has to be passed before you get to the next step. You have to have building inspectors come in to pass phase one, two, three, four, and so on before you can actually complete one stage of the project to the next. You have to have, of course, a sign off, not only from the home inspector, but also from the department that heads that particular part of the project. So there's just so many hurdles to jump through when talking about doing any kind of project. And I'm talking specifically, say, renovation projects or adding an extension to a house. I've seen where even doing a basement renovation can cause so much turmoil, so much anguish. I've had individuals who, clients, because I was in real estate previously, clients who decided to add an extension or finish a segment of the house for their in-laws, had finished the basement for their in-laws. And before you know it, you have neighbors calling the city on you saying, hey, they're doing some renovations here. Oh yeah, that happens. That happens. It happens. So yeah, it's one of the situations where you could be doing minding your own business as your home as the homeowner, and someone comes along and calls the city because you have not been able to either get funding to fix something that needs to be done on your house. Personal example: 4 years ago, I bought a property from a builder, and I didn't want to have any grass, any sod on the property because it was a slope property, and I wanted to have a rock garden put in. I didn't want to own a lawnmower, and so as a result of that, I decided let me take care of some of the stuff that I want to do inside of the house, and I'll deal with that next spring. Well, next spring came along, and I decided to take a trip. I wanted to explore Rwanda and Zambia, and I decided to do that. So, of course, who's thinking about things growing? Because I'm going to do a rock garden anyways. The plan was to do that in the summertime. I'm certainly not doing that in April in the city in Canada. It's too cold. So I went off on my trip. Got back in June, only to find a notice on the door from the city. I'm like, okay, well, I know I'm going to deal with this, so let me leave that behind for a second. And only for one day the following week, a knock on the door, tap 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 tap, and I go to open the door. This man shows a badge, a badge. I'm like, okay, who are you? Oh, I'm the bylaw inspector. I didn't even know bylaw inspectors have badges. Like, do they have badges? He showed me a badge. Then he proceeded to tell me with his ruler in hand, that the weeds that are growing in what will be my rock gardens are too tall. I'm like, too tall. Okay. So I'll take care of it. Why are you here? Oh, then we were summoned because we got a call from one of your neighbors saying that the weeds are too tall. I can't make this shit up. True story. And I said, you're talking about the same weeds that are across the street, which was a ravine owned by government property. It's government property. The same weeds that are even much taller. You mean those same weeds? Oh yeah, but we're not allowed to cut to treat those they have to be cut by a certain group. So, or a certain, whoever they hire to do them, and they haven't been around yet. I'm like, yeah, but they're the same weeds owned by the city. Needless to say, it went back and forth, and I wasn't budging because, like, I will deal with this in my own due time. It's weeds. It's not hurting anybody. It's not ragweed that's pollinating the air with like allergens. And that was one of the, I had enough from even before that. I don't even know why I had taken this property on, but I did. But the long and short of it is that, and I don't want to be too long-winded because this video is going to be so long, I might have to do it in 2 segments. The long and short of it is like, in your business kind of BS. And that's number one on my list. So permits, bylaws, bullshit. That's number one. Number two, food insecurity, because the quality and the cost of food, you're eating nothing but pulp. You're eating, especially produce, you're eating nothing but pulp. If it's not pulp, it's processed. And for that reason, I'm not interested. Traveling and being here, especially in Kenya, back and forth, I enjoy food so much more here. The produce, food, even meat. Like, I'm not trying to do meat on a big scale. However, when you do eat meat, you want to be able to enjoy that. Back at the ranch, and I'm talking back there, you've got to put so much spices, so much seasoning, so much herbs, so much, whatever you're doing, it's got to be so much because the meat is like subpar. And people might say, oh, but Canadian steak is so good. It's AAA steak and it's aged and it's da da da. Yeah, try buying one of those. I don't even go to restaurants anymore. I will also add that. I do not go to restaurants there anymore because that is a waste of time and money. Let me say it again. Going to restaurants there is a waste of time. I'm not saying that they're not great restaurants, finding the gem. Even when you find those gems, the cost of it, the cost of dining out is exorbitant. And again, done. All right. I'm not even going to touch on food recalls because that's again part of the number two, but it's self-explanatory. There's been too many of them. There's no reason why there should be a recall on cucumbers. Cucumbers. Like, how does listeria get on cucumbers? It's just poor handling. It's bad handling. And obviously not washing produce well. So part of the reason is, like, you can't even trust to go into a grocery store and pick up something and then come home, wash it, cook it, eat it, or you know what I'm saying? Prepare a salad without the fear of ending up in the hospital. Yeah, we have free healthcare, but free is not so free. You know what I'm saying? But that's another day's conversation. Number three, the weather. Oh my God. I've had situations where I have spent almost half day shoveling snow. Enough is enough. You know, you don't mind it when you're younger because you just sort of like mentally you get over that real fast. But as you age, the weather takes its toll on you. Number four is outdated infrastructure. Outdated infrastructure. You might say, well, how'd you move from Canada to Kenya? Having outdated infrastructure. I'm talking in relation to the population growth. Population growth in the last 15, 20 years in Canada has tripled, especially in cities like Vancouver and Toronto. Toronto has ballooned, has the number of people that have moved to Toronto in the last 15 years have tripled. Okay. So yeah, we have a population growth like no other. And the infrastructure is the same. In fact, it's the same that it's been, as far as the subway system has been the same that it's been since I was a child. I think they added maybe 1, 2, 3 stops. And even to the point where there's a new LRT link, which is LRT is an above ground subway system. So it's above ground, it's not underground. So it shouldn't even be like taking that long. And what has happened is that was sanctioned to, or was passed, the bill was passed and they started building in 2011. It's now 2025, 14 years ago. 14 years it's taken to build this subway line above ground, and it's still not open yet. Nah, like, this is in, it's, there's no excuse for that. First world nation, and it's taken this long. It's money, it's extortion. That's what it is. When I say extortion, meaning like the companies who are getting paid, yeah, they're getting paid. Government spending is next. That's number five. So it's the same thing. It like all flows into each other. So outdated infrastructure leads to, you know, someone being paid for something that is not getting done fast enough, or even the bureaucracy of, you know, land sale for a building project. And then before you know it, government changes, and then that project is on a clawback. It's stopped. So many things like that happen. And that's waste of time, waste of money, waste of resources, just waste. So again, government spending. Number six is cost of doing business. Yeah, the cost of doing business for the government, they get away with it. But when you own your own business and you're trying to run a business efficiently, it doesn't work that way. I'm not talking about the cost of, like, say, for example, the space that you've got to pay for, or even the cost of hiring individuals, their salary. I'm not even talking about that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about everything else. Like, for example, an employer is responsible, of course, for contributed to CPP, which is the Canadian Pension Program or Canadian Pension Plan. That employers have to pay into. And I know that, given that's normally how it's done, but the percentage continues to go up, and people might say, oh, well, it's not that much. But if you are small business owner and you add not only the CPP, but now you've got corporate taxes, and then you have on top of that unemployment insurance. Unemployment insurance is something that you have to pay into in case someone is sick, laid off, maternity leave. They are able to collect unemployment. Well, you as the employer have to pay that. Then there's also, let me talk about some of the other insurances. Health insurance. Of course, you've got to pay into health insurance. We have free health care in Canada, and we're very grateful for that. However, that money has to come from somewhere, and part of it is from your employer, from the employer. So someone who owns a business. Again, company insurance. Of course, you need insurance to protect your company. The one that gets me though is the disability insurance. Disability insurance is something that's a provincial thing where if you own a certain type of business, you have to have disability insurance in case there's anyone that gets hurt on the job. They, sit in the chair that you provide for them, and their back, is starting to hurt them, and they need to take 6 weeks off to heal. And during that 6 weeks, you find out that they've gone to Mexico, and you pay that. That's disability insurance. There's even a case where this was a couple of years ago where Air Canada, this was during COVID, so work from home. And there was a case where there was a lady working in her own home, um, she's decided to, I don't know, go to the kitchen or go upstairs or something. And there was a landing in her own home. And she ended up either twisting her ankle or something. She then sued the company that she was working for, her employer, and won. Yeah, disability insurance. You need to have that shit. Anyways, Number seven is taxes. Oh yeah, I forgot about taxes. Taxes. Oh yeah, it's real. As one of the G7 nations, we're one of the highest tax company. We're not the highest, but we're up there. And by the time, of course, just like anywhere in the world, the more you make, the more you pay. Well, we pay even more so, even more so. So I'm going to leave it at that. Taxes is number seven. Going on to number eight is the fact that we're becoming a very litigious, I had to say it right, litigious society, mimicking that of our US counterpart. Yeah. Once upon a time, it's not to say we didn't have lawsuits, but now, oh my Lord, like, do I dare say that we are USA 2.0 when it comes to lawsuits? And it's getting quite out of hand. People are anything that you think that maybe it will never happen to you, quite possibly can happen to you. I've had a personal situation where that has been the case, and I would prefer not to go into it right now because it is quite painful when somebody accuses you and it was unfounded and they've been proved that they were that it was unfounded, and still you pay the consequences as a result of. So yeah, this is something that I can speak on personally, but I wish not to at this point because it is quite hurtful. Number 9 is you are just a number. You are just a number. I mean, if there's anything to be said, once you're born, you know, your parents apply for a SIN number, which is basically SIN number is a social insurance number. That's our like ID number that we use for taxes. And it's not even just that. You're just a number. Everything is a number. Everything. And to the point where I remember last fall I had called a government agency for some reason or another. When you call in, it's like you are number, and I kid you not, you are number 83 in line. And I'm like, I had to laugh about it because I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, granted, they give you the option to call back or for them to call you back if you so wish. But the point is, 83, number 10. Quality of life is definitely something to be mentioned because once upon a time, I would say, yeah, we had a very high standard, very high quality of life in Canada. But over the years, and especially, I'm going to also dare to say since COVID, it has dwindled quite a lot. Quality of life, I broke it into 10 points. Again, 10 points. And for each of those 10 points, I rated it 1 to 10. And I'll tell you what the percentage is at the end. So for the first point is housing and the protection of that asset. So housing meaning primarily a primary residence and the protection of that primary residence. What is it worth over time? What will it possibly be worth? Is it safe? Is it a safe investment? That I gave 8. Some people might say, oh, well, 9 because lots of people like to invest in Canada. Well, let's say yes and no, because it's a great investment to own your own property. Beyond that, you are taxed quite highly. Okay, number 2, cost of housing. Cost of housing, that gets a 5. In fact, I was even going to go 4, but cost of housing over the years when I started in real estate, it's been a minute now, but when I started in real estate, you could get a house for maybe about 160,000 Canadian. Now the average cost of a house is pushing upwards of 900. It's dropped. It has dropped, and I'm talking the GTA area. Now it has dropped to about maybe 780, but still it's quite expensive. Cost of food and the quality of food, as I touched on that before, there you're only getting 5 for that. Only 5. You're just barely passing. Because again, the cost of food, because our food has to come in, especially produce from the US or through the US, from Mexico, from Latin America, from South America, and all that time that it takes to actually haul the produce by way of truck through. Yeah, that's a few weeks. Sorry. Water, abundance and quality of water. That is a 9. And that's because we have the largest number of lakes in any country throughout the world. Weather gets a 4. For 6, safety protection, and that gets an 8 because we do live in a society that is pretty safe for the most part, although now you can hear of random weirdness that's going on, but that's everywhere. Mental health is number 7. Mental health gets a 6. And you might say, what, but you have free healthcare and you have da da da, and you can, yeah, mental health gets a 6 because everything, all the stress points that cause mental health, that's why it gets a 6. There are too many issues that can cause you to go into anxiety easily. Belongingness, that is a 6 as well, because really and truly, especially nowadays, it's hard to find. I'm not saying me personally, but like overall from what I've heard and doing some research, individuals are finding it difficult to actually establish really good relationships, being whether it's an intimate relationship or whether it's just friendships. It's just very difficult because you're working so many bloody hours. You're tapped out. You're tired. You're not able to function properly to even maintain a relationship. So that belongingness is only getting six. Number nine, esteem accomplishment. To feel like you can accomplish certain things within that society. I'm giving that again a six only because you can get an education easily enough. Yes, you have to pay for that, mind you. You can go post-secondary and get an education, and it's encouraged. But then after you come out, so many students come out with then trying to find a job and trying to find just a job that can maintain them. Oftentimes they're doing Uber, they're doing, skip the dishes, they're doing just to make ends meet, just to get by because of cost of living again. So being able to accomplish that which you want to accomplish might seem great on the surface, but not so easy to attain. Number 10, ability to achieve one's fullest potential. So again, it's linked into maybe number 9. You might say it's one and the same thing, but I categorized it differently. And for that was a 6 as well. So yeah, I'm not even going to elaborate anymore because you know where I'm going with this. Fullest potential in life, whether it be, you want to become, say, a lawyer, you can do that. But the fullest potential of that sometimes depend on who's above you, who's promoting you, and I'm not even talking about being a lawyer. Let's even say you decide you're a gardener and you want to open a small business where then you can, hire a few people and do something. Say you can't do it, but the steps in which to actually grow your business becomes very difficult as you move up the tiers. So my total score, after I tallied it all up, yeah, 63%. You might say, oh, well, that's not so bad. Yeah, it's not so bad, but is it that great? Is it that great? Do you want to go through life living at 63% lung capacity? Do you want to go through life living at 63%, where your heart beats at 63%? When you put it in that context, you understand where I'm going with this. I want to be 80 and above. I want to be high proficient. I want to be like, 80 and above is even like, that's bare minimum. I want to live my life, enjoying food, enjoying what I want to enjoy, enjoying this Kenyan sun, not being stressed, not being overworked. Enough of that. So yeah, those are the 10 reasons why I decided to move from Canada to Kenya. All right. It's your girl, Emerald. Thank you so much for joining me. Listen out for my next video coming back to you from Nairobi, Kenya. Like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Take care. Peace out.